Hello my friends, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Erin, and today we are doing a reading vlog, but this is a very different type of reading vlog for myself and my channel. We are going to be reading books with OCD representation in them. And the reason I wanted to do this vlog is because I have OCD. I was diagnosed last year. After doing therapy with my therapist, it's something that we've uncovered that I've just had it pretty much my entire life. It's grown as I have and as times have changed and things like that. So it's been a very interesting year in therapy for me. You know, one thing I am working on is being a little bit more vocal about the fact that I have OCD, and I do want to be honest about it and, you know, talk about it a little bit more. And so I thought, why not combine mental health and reading, two things that are important to me, and make a vlog about it. So I have 5 books here that I'm going to be reading. And before we get into it, I have a few things I want to talk about because I feel like it's very important. So if you guys skip this, I might reiterate it in the comments if people ask me questions, but this is kind of important. So I do want to state for the record that OCD looks different for everyone. Things that I have going on, like my obsessions and my compulsions, they won't manifest in other people all the time. So there are different subtypes of OCD, and I don't fall into every category, and other people won't relate to my type of OCD, and I won't relate to other people's types of OCD. It's just different for everyone. So that being said, I will be analyzing these books with the OCD rep in mind. Like, I will talk about if I think it's good or bad or whatever, if I think it could have been done differently. I will be analyzing it, but it will all be from my perspective and my experience with OCD. I do not speak for everyone else with OCD. I'm not speaking, you know, like for the community. I'm just speaking as me, myself, I, as an individual, as Erin. That's it. So this will all be my opinion. So if other people with OCD find this video and they have different opinions, that's just gonna happen because, you know, OCD just doesn't look exactly the same in every single person. Just so you know, this is all coming just from me, like I do with my book reviews. You know, my opinions are from me. It's not about anybody else. I'm just telling you how I feel. Now, out of the 5 books, 3 specifically say that they have OCD representation in them. Either it's been said in the plot description or the author has stated that the character has OCD, you know, so it's very clear that these are books with OCD in them. 2 of the other books I picked up because I saw reviews that stated something about the characters having OCD. So this one in particular has nothing in the plot description about OCD representation. So I'm picking this just because I saw people saying that, but we will discuss it when I read the book and like what I think and stuff like that. Same goes for Phantasma. I didn't see anything in the plot description that says anything about OCD representation, but when I read it, because I am filming this from the future, I've already read these books. There is a content and trigger warning page, and it does say that it has in-depth depictions of obsessive compulsive tendencies, such as intrusive thoughts and compulsive tics. I didn't know that when I picked this book up. I mainly went for this one because I saw reviews stating that it had OCD representation. So you'll see me in the vlog say I don't know if it does, and then start reading it and realize that the author has stated that. So anyways, I think that's it for this intro. I know it's a little long, but I wanted to kind of explain some things, give some disclaimers. I know that people don't like them, but sometimes they're very necessary because then I get comments, and the comments can be very irritating if they are repetitive, and a bunch of people flood the comments asking the same things. So hopefully you all watched the intro. If you didn't, I mean, then I filmed it for nothing, but if you did watch it, thank you so much for listening to me, and I hope you all are interested in this vlog. I know it's kind of different from me, but I just wanted to try something new and different, and I feel like I'm at a place with my therapy and where I'm at mentally that I felt like I could do this. So hopefully you all enjoy. If you do, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you all in the vlog, obviously. So here we go.
I'm gonna eat.
No!
Yes!
You can't have one right now! They're hot!
So are you. I've been waiting for you to cool off for years, but you haven't.
Okay, so I'm here to check in. I just finished House of Beth, and I have some thoughts. I actually don't really know how I feel about this book. I just finished it and then decided to film my check-in. So sometimes that's harder for me because I need some time to really process a book after I finished it. And I feel like this is kind of one of those books where if I sit with it, I might like it more or I might like it less. I'll tell you what this book is about, and then I'll tell you the things that I liked about it, the things I don't like about it, because I think that'll be the easiest way to talk about this book. So in this story, we are following Cassie, and she has just recently gone through a breakup, and she kind of had this traumatic event at work, and she decided to kind of uproot herself from her life in New York and move back to her small hometown. And while she's there, she runs into her best friend, Eli, and she finds out that his wife has recently passed, and they just reconnect. He has 2 kids that he's taking care of, and their relationship just kind of blooms really quickly, and they end up getting married. Now, she kind of has to fall into this new role in her life because she's now a step-parent, and Beth, Eli's first wife, she was homeschooling the kids, and she was kind of the homemaker, traditional wife type. So Cassie's trying to fill these shoes, but they're very different from her previous life. Like, it's not how she's usually been. And Cassie also struggles with harm OCD. Now, this is a very interesting type of OCD that the author decided to use in this story, which I'll get more into. But then she starts hearing this voice. Now, this is considered a gothic horror. Personally, I don't think this is a horror book for me. I don't think if I was reading it, I would consider this horror. I would probably call it more of like lit fic. I think this is more like a literary fiction book. So that is one thing that I want to know. I feel like a lot of people are going to pick this up and go into thinking it's like a traditional horror kind of book, and it just doesn't feel very horror to me. Now, for the thing that I really liked about this book, the OCD representation was so good. I love that the author focused on harm OCD, which is a type of OCD where the person has these intrusive thoughts, and they are usually very violent and gruesome and graphic and gory, and I personally feel like this type of OCD is not talked about enough. I think a lot of people, when they hear OCD, they think of very neat and tidy people, or people liking things in rows and having them in a certain place, which, yes, can be a part of OCD. But this is a type of OCD that I think, this is where I don't have the personal experience with this OCD. I do have intrusive thoughts, but not to the effect that Cassie did, and I did not struggle with them like she does. So it is hard for me to talk about this one from a personal experience, but I do think that a lot of people who have harm OCD are gonna feel like Cassie does, because I'm sure it feels very shameful. These images are not things that they want to tell other people about. I'm sure it feels like they have to keep it a secret. They probably feel like a terrible, awful person because it feels like these images are what they want, and it's not true. And so I really loved that the author decided to tackle this form of OCD. I think that was so amazing. I think it was very well done from what I know of it, and from what I've read and learned like through my therapist and stuff like that. So I do really think this book nailed that on the head. Like, it was fantastic representation. I think a lot of people who struggle with harm OCD and do like reading books like this would probably just feel so seen and heard, and I think it would really mean something to them if they read this book. So I want to commend the author for that, because honestly it was really good, and I really did feel connected to Cassie a lot of the time, and I felt for her, and I could relate to her, not necessarily with the same things, but in feelings. So like, just amazingly well done in my opinion. Now, the rest of the book, I just don't really understand what this book, I mean, I don't know. It's not my type of story. It's very slow. It kind of feels like it's meandering a lot of the time, and it feels like nothing really happens. It feels like it was almost a paranormal romance, like a gothic paranormal romance, instead of a gothic horror. That's what I would call this, because it is very queer and focused on LGBTQIA+ and stuff like that. But I don't know, it was a very weird book. It was more like, it's more about Cassie living this life that she doesn't want to live, and she's kind of trying to fit into this mold that she doesn't fit into, and she's trying really hard to make it fit, because I don't know, I can't relate to Cassie a lot of the book, but I felt for her and I liked her. But I also was like, why is this happening? And I do feel like a lot of her reasonings have to do with her OCD and how she feels about herself, and how she just, I think she feels like she just doesn't deserve the life that she wants. So it's more like that. It's more a book about that. It was okay. I didn't hate the plot. I felt like it didn't go down a route where I was super shocked or super surprised. I feel like once you start reading it, you're kind of like, yeah, okay, this makes sense. It's nothing twisty-turny or anything like that. So I'm just not sure how I feel about this book. I feel like I was a little bit misled, because I thought it was going to be more horror than it was. And I didn't hate it, but other than the OCD representation, I don't know if I would have liked or finished this book. I feel like I might have DNF'd it because I don't feel like there would have been anything else keeping me reading it. So for those reasons, I would probably give this a 3-star. It's not bad, but I think you do need to adjust your expectations going in because it's not really what I think people are expecting it to be. At least from my standpoint, that's just my opinion. So, you know, if anything like the OCD representation or the plot or, you know, what I'm telling you, you know, calls to you, definitely pick it up. But if you're expecting a really gothic horror book, I don't think you're going to find it here. Up next, I'm going to read this YA horror, If We Survive This by Raquel Marie. So this is going to be the next read. This is a horror book about a zombie apocalypse and the main character has OCD. So this is next up and I will update you sometime soon. Alright, I have finished the next book, which is If We Survive This, and as you all know, if you don't know, I will say it again, I'm not a fan of zombie apocalypse books, but I did read a zombie apocalypse book earlier in just my last reading vlog, and I actually really enjoyed it, so it's funny that I'm reading another one that I actually enjoyed as well. Maybe I shouldn't write off zombie books. Maybe I'm learning something about myself. Maybe this is unlocking a new era, a new genre for me. Maybe I should try and step out of my comfort zone a little, but I will tell you about this book and then I will give you my thoughts, a little summation of how I feel. But this book is about Flora and her brother Kane, and there is a zombie apocalypse happening they're in the midst of, and this one's very interesting. It's a mutation of rabies. So it's the same kind of thing, like if you get bit, you turn into a zombie, but it's like based off of rabies. So they kind of like foam at the mouth, and it's very interesting because it's something that I don't think I've seen, but again, I'm not I'm not an expert, so if this has been done before, I haven't seen it. But anyways, Kane and Flora, they are currently in their childhood home, and Kane has heard a radio broadcast from their dad who left a little bit ago, and he was looking for like basically a better place for them to stay because they can't stay in the house anymore. They're running low on food and supplies, and it's not gonna last forever. So Kane heard this broadcast, and Flora and him decide to make their way to this cabin that they used to go to as a family every year, and they are pretty sure that the dad is there. Now, this does have like two kind of POVs. It's still Flora, but in the now, it's them making the journey to the cabin during the apocalypse. But in the then chapters, it is telling a story of her and her family and the last time they were at the cabin as a family, which was about 15 months ago, I believe. I don't think this is a groundbreaking zombie plot. It's a very typical, you know, they're having to take shelter in houses, they get injured, they run into, you know, zombies, which they call rabids, and they run into people. I mean, it's a very typical apocalypse zombie type of plot. And while I don't think it's groundbreaking in that sense, I love the OCD representation in this book. I have to say that while I was thinking about this video and while I was kind of gathering the courage to film it and do it, I really didn't think I was going to find a book that really encompassed my OCD or was going to really like touch on a lot of, you know, my obsessions and my compulsions. But wow, this book, Flora and me have a lot in common. Her OCD really mirrors mine. She is obsessed with death and she thinks about it in every instance. She's always thinking about bad things that can happen. Her anxiety is so amped up and she's so on edge. She is always waiting for something bad to happen. She is preparing for every bad situation that she can possibly think about. And her senses are so heightened because she feels danger everywhere, and wow, that is me. Unfortunately, I do feel the same way. That is where a lot of my obsessions lie, is around death and danger and things that can cause death or injury or anything like that. So I really related to her obsessions. She also is like kind of got a thing with germs and like contamination. Some of the contamination stuff is like her touching things. So like she has to be careful with cups. Like she has to know who's used it, who's cleaned it, that kind of thing. She has to really think about that. And when she's touched something that she feels is dirty or not clean enough, it's all her mind can focus on is the germs and what's attaching itself to her body and what's making her sick. Therefore, it's going to make her die, which I also have a huge issue with. I do have a lot of compulsions that happen because of my obsession with contamination and that leading towards death. So this book was really hard, and it was funny because it's funny to see my own OCD in someone else, because it's easier to laugh at when it's not me, because, you know, it does feel silly at times. I know that it is silly and it's hard for people to understand, and, you know, not everyone's brains work like mine does, so I get it. And it was kind of funny to watch her obsess over things and know that it's, you know, silly, but I also do the same things. Or, you know, sometimes it was funny because I was like, girl, me too. I can name a handful of times where I did the exact same thing you did. So it was funny, but it was also very therapeutic to see her go through a zombie apocalypse, because it's funny how you would think how obsessed she is with like dying and protecting herself and her family, and how she always feels like she needs to be prepared for the worst possible outcome. It's funny how she really uses that to her advantage during this apocalypse, but also how it hinders her in this apocalypse. So it was almost like seeing myself in the same situations and seeing how I would fare, which I don't think I would be very good in a zombie apocalypse, even though I am so worried about danger and I'm so alert. I do think that it would help in certain circumstances, but it would also hinder me just like her. So it was a very interesting way to handle a zombie apocalypse, and I liked it. I liked Flora. I could definitely see how she would be irritating to a lot of people, but also I think some people probably won't get her obsessions and her compulsions, which is fine. I mean, it's not how every brain works, but I think for me it wasn't that she was irritating, it was more comforting to see someone else feel the exact same way. It's also very queer, and there is some romance in this, and I really enjoyed that. I thought that was really cute. Again, nothing super different and unique, but I do think that the addition of the OCD elements really helped make Flora a unique character to the zombie apocalypse. So I think her being the character really helped set it apart. And I do think I am a little biased in my review and my rating of this because I do want to give it 4 stars. But I think it's because I relate so well, and it was, I mean, this is the best example of my own OCD that I've ever seen in a book, that just makes me like it a lot more. It had me tearing up. The end especially was just like a little hard hitting for me, and I really enjoyed it. I respect the author for doing this book and including OCD. I saw that in the acknowledgements she said that she wanted her character to have her own OCD in it, and I mean, I really respect that, and I think it's really brave, and I loved it because it helps me too. Like, it's beautiful to see someone else know what it's like and know what my brain's doing and how frustrating and hopeless you can feel, but also how I don't know, the ending was just so beautiful that I think it's just such a nice way to tackle this, and I'm really happy the author made this book. Next up is a thriller that came out last year, I believe, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people have talked about it. I think the character in this book is more going to be on the contamination OCD side, so like more about germs and stuff like that, which I will definitely be able to relate to as well. That is You Know What You Did, which I'm very excited to read. This has been on my TBR for almost a year now, or a year. And I'm excited. I don't have high expectations because thrillers have been disappointing lately, but I want to give this a try and hopefully I'll really enjoy it. Okay, so I have an update for You Know What You Did, and I wasn't going to come on this early and talk about my thoughts, but honestly I have so many thoughts that I feel like I need to do a little update. I'm just about to start part 2. I'm 130 pages in. I'm having such a hard time with this book. And I'm really thankful that I'm in a good mental space right now, and like, I didn't read this months ago because I think where I was mentally, if I had been reading this, it probably would have sent me into a panic attack, and yeah, it would have been a disaster. So it's really a good thing that I'm reading this now where I'm at. But let me tell you what this book is about. So we're following Annie. She's the main character. She is an artist and she's married to her husband Duncan. She has a daughter named Tabby who's I think like 14, 13. She's like a teenager or something. Now, her mom was a Vietnam War refugee, so her and Annie have a very complicated relationship. We get flashbacks to Annie's childhood and kind of how they lived and how they struggled with money and just their relationship. So it's very complex, which also shows how complex Tabby and Annie's relationship is as mother and daughter as well. So there's like 2 kinds of mother and daughter relationships happening in this book. But Annie also has OCD, and she's had it like pretty under control for the last few years. She's been taking medication and it's been kind of like just gone basically. And now it's come back, and it's come back with a force, and it's kind of taking over her life again, which is very much how OCD works. It really infiltrates your life and it causes a lot of chaos, and it's very consuming. Let me start with, I like how the OCD is represented. It's contamination OCD. Annie is undressing in the mudroom of her house. She's taking these really hot showers. She's scrubbing her body from top to bottom. If she feels like she touches something in between being dirty and clean, she has to start all over again. She's analyzing and obsessing over things like, is that blood? Is that dirt? Did I touch this? Did I touch that? I do really relate to Annie's contamination OCD. I have done a lot of the things that she's doing, and it's hard to read, because OCD really makes you feel like your brain is unreliable and your memory is unreliable, so you second guess everything and you seek reassurance because you can't trust your own memory. You can't trust your own brain, and it's a very upsetting thing. It's hard to explain to people who don't understand. That leads me into her husband. I can't stand her husband. I think he is a dick, and you can tell he does not understand her OCD, which is fine. I understand that people who don't live with OCD aren't going to understand it. It's a very complicated mental illness, and if you don't live like that, it's really hard to wrap your brain around. And I'm not saying that he needs to enable her to a certain degree, but like, he's so flippant and he just thinks that she needs to like get over it. Like, he's just like, well, stop thinking about it. If we could stop thinking about things, we would have already tried it, okay? Our brain literally obsesses for hours about things, and then the compulsion is the reason we stop obsessing, because we do something that gives us peace and it releases our anxiety. And he's so frustrating because I'm just thankful that Justin, my fiance, is the way he is, because he's so understanding even though he doesn't get it, and he never would treat me like Duncan is treating his wife, and I just want to like punch her husband. He's so aggravating. Her daughter is super irritating as well. I know she's a teenager, I know she's young, I know she doesn't get it, but she says that her mom's so embarrassing, and she's just like, it's so hard because everything that her daughter's saying, Annie already knows. Like, you can tell her she's embarrassing. You think she doesn't know that everything she's doing is weird and not normal, and it's bizarre. Like, you think she already doesn't know that. Of course she does. But it's just like so hurtful to hear people tell you that you're weird, you know? Ugh, she's just such a little brat, and her husband enables the daughter so bad. It's making a very irritating read. It's making it a very irritating read. I think I'm having a hard time with this one because the OCD is so stifling. It is in your face. It's really a big focal point, which is good, and I'm not mad about it, but at least with like the last book I read, there was a break. Or even House of Beth. There were breaks inside the books where you had the OCD moments and then you had other plot. This feels like the OCD is a majority of the plot. Like, I'm hoping that the OCD is not pushing the plot, because I have a theory and I'm hoping, I don't know, I'm kind of sure I'm right, but I'm not sure at the same time because I haven't read anything else of this book. But I just don't want the OCD to be I don't want it to be playing a certain part in this plot like I think it might be, because that could really frustrate me, but we'll see. I'm gonna hold my review fully on that until the end. But I think I know where the plot is going, and if it is going that way, I'm unsure why, but we'll see. There was also a dog death in this book. You don't see the death of the dog, but you do see on page dead dog, like how the dog looks after they have died. So it was very disturbing, honestly. It was pretty upsetting. I didn't like it. I thought it was very like, I just thought it was too much. I did not enjoy that. So that was really upsetting, and I didn't like that. I didn't need that addition. It was too much for me. So I don't know. I'm not having a good time reading this because it's bringing up like me thinking about my own compulsions and obsessions, and like, again, I relate to Annie, but I need like a break. This is a little bit too much. If I was reading this at a different time in my life, I think this would be like, I would have to DNF. I don't think I could take it. But because I am okay mentally where I'm at, it's fine to read, but it's not enjoyable. Like, I'm not enjoying myself. I don't know if it's because it's a thriller, so the addition of the OCD feels, I don't know. I just don't know how I feel right now. I need to read more, but I have lots of thoughts. It's an interesting book so far, but I'm not loving it. I hope that my opinion changes in the end. But as of right now, that's how I'm feeling. So I will let you all know when I finish it, and I will chat a bit more and hopefully have more concrete thoughts and opinions. I really struggled with this one. If I wasn't reading this for a vlog, I definitely think I would have DNF'd. It just wasn't entertaining. It wasn't fun. I didn't like any of the characters. I just was having such a rough time with this book. I actually switched to the audiobook for like 10-15% so I could paint my nails. Don't look too close at them. They don't look good right now. They'll look good when I clean them up, but right now they look atrocious, so don't pay attention. But I did listen to the audiobook, and that one, that was fine. It was okay. I'm not a big audiobook reader, so I don't really have a lot of feelings about it. Now, before we get too far into my overall thoughts and opinions, I did forget to mention in the last check-in, because I got really ahead of myself and I was just spewing thoughts out left and right. You're getting these chapters where Annie is in a hotel room and she's woken up to a dead body, and you can tell that it's later on in the book, but you can't really figure out like what's going on at first. I forgot to mention that because I don't know, I was just all over the place. So that happened. In the second half of the book, or after part 1, there also becomes this missing persons case. So this older woman who's in her late 80s, I believe, what's her name? Birdie. She goes missing, and she was kind of someone that Annie and her had a working relationship. She would kind of get Annie like art jobs and stuff like that. So yeah, that's how they are connected, and the police kind of zero in on Annie, and she becomes a pretty big suspect, and she can't remember things. She's very much an unreliable narrator, partly because people think she's crazy because of her OCD, and they see the way she behaves, and because they don't understand it, they definitely see her as crazy. But also she's having problems with her memory, she's having mood swings, her OCD has ramped up again. Like I said earlier, it's come back after all these years of being pretty contained. She's just having a lot of like issues. She can't tell if some things are hallucinations, and then some things are hallucinations. It's just a lot. So I personally don't love that trope. I don't love when the main character has mental illness and they are then a suspect because their mental illness makes them unreliable in certain aspects. And while I understand that that is very true in the real world, that, you know, mental illness is probably going to get you seen as not reliable and stuff like that, it just really bothers me because I don't like that. I just don't like that trope. I don't think it's, I don't want to see it in thrillers. It really bugs me. I just think that we need to come together better as a society and look at mental illness differently. And so it was just a little bit irritating. I kind of had a feeling that her OCD was going to play a part in the plot that I wasn't going to love, and that was kind of it. I do think the OCD was done really, really well. Like I said, I really related to the contamination OCD that she had. I really like how she explained how there's outside germs, there's outside dirty, inside is her safe haven, and when the two collide, that's when problems happen. Because that's exactly how I feel. When I'm outside, the dirty's fine, I can deal with it. When I'm inside, I don't want that coming in to my home and where I feel safe and where I feel protected. So I do think the OCD Rep was really good. I do think that there was a good focus on generational trauma, on Annie being Vietnamese American and how her mom, you know, kind of coped with being a Vietnam War refugee. That was a lot. And her mom had her own problems, and you can just see how it all came about in their relationship, and how the generational trauma really affects Annie with her daughter Tabby, but also how she tries to break that cycle. So I thought that was good as well. Now I will say that I guessed every single thing that happened in this book. I started reading it, and when I got to about 100 pages, right before I checked in with you all, I looked at Justin and I said, bet you 10 to 1, blah, 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 this is what's happening. And I was right. I hate the plot twist that happened. I thought it was so lame. I have seen so many Lifetime movies that do this, which is why I think I understood where it was going and I called it, is because it reminds me of a Lifetime movie. And I love Lifetime movies, okay? They're cheesy, they're fun, they're entertaining, whatever. But, oh my god, this was so predictable. So predictable. I just didn't care for any of the plot twists or anything that happened. Again, they weren't really twisty for me. I thought they were pretty obvious. I called everything pretty early on. Hated everybody. Annie did frustrate me a lot. While I could relate to her with some things, I didn't relate to her with other things. Like some of the choices she makes in the later parts of the book. I just like... She made me upset. I was just like, girl, no, don't do this. I couldn't stand her daughter. She was a brat. She just really made me mad. I know she was a teenager. I don't care. Her husband, hated from the beginning, hated the way he treated her OCD, hated the way he treated her. I just didn't like this book. It wasn't a really fun read for me. It wasn't a good thriller in my opinion. I liked the OCD Rep. I think that's where this book really saves itself, honestly. So I am going to give it a 2.5 star rating because I do think that the OCD Rep was really good. While it was very suffocating for me to be kind of locked into it, and I would have to, I'm glad that I was mentally okay to read this book. I would never do it again. I would never read this book again. Yeah, this was not my favorite. So next up, this is the second to last book. This book, I am not sure if this author is representing this character as having OCD, but I have seen some reviews saying that the character has OCD. I just want to see maybe if they're not full out saying OCD, but the character might have OCD like tendencies, so we're going to talk about that as I get into it. But I'm going to be reading Britt Marie Was Here by Frederick Bachman. I have read one other Frederick Bachman and I did enjoy it, even though it was soul destroying and it really was like a frustrating read, which was Beartown. I'm excited to read this one. This was a gift from one of my subscribers. Thank you, Vanessa. So this is what we're going to be reading. All I know is that Britt Marie is kind of like a quirky character. That's all I know. Maybe has some like perfectionist tendencies there. So I'm gonna see if she is OCD or OCD adjacent maybe, and we will chat about it when I get into the book, or if I finish it, I will let you know my thoughts and feelings and opinions. Well, I have finished Britt Marie Was Here, and I have lots of feelings. Someone remind me not to read Frederick Bachman anymore unless I'm in the mood to have my heart ripped out, because tell me why. The whole book I was laughing because I thought this was so cute and funny and silly, and then the end. Is this every Frederick Bachman? I read Beartown and that one was like, I sobbed like the whole time. Tell me if that's what I have to expect from normal people, because did I say normal people again? Oh my god. Tell me if that's what I have to expect from anxious people, because I need to know. I need to know now. Is it gonna make me cry? Because I don't know if I can take it. I really don't know. I swear this book flip-flopped at the end. Again, I was just like, oh, this is so cute. Anyways, I'll give you a little summary. This is about Britt Marie, who at the very beginning of the book, she is trying to get a job at the unemployment office because her life has been turned upside down. This event happened, which I'm not going to name it because there's kind of some lead up to it in the book, and then when it's revealed, I guess it feels a little dramatic. So something turns her life upside down, and she ends up getting this job in Borg, which is a very, 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 very small town. I don't even want to call it a town. It kind of feels more like a village. And she gets a job at taking care of this recreation center. And Borg is going through some trouble. A lot of places have closed down in Borg. A lot of people are struggling. There's a lot of references to a financial crisis in this book. So the people of Borg are very quirky, they're very funny, you start to love them, they grow on you, and Britt Marie is a very rigid person. She's very focused on cleanliness and orderliness, and she likes things done a certain way, and she feels like if people don't do them that way, they're kind of wrong. And she is also very awkward. Her social interaction skills aren't very good. So like she doesn't get humor very well sometimes, or she thinks people are insulting her even if they're not really like referencing her. It's just hard for her, I think, to understand how to converse with people. Like social norms kind of just go over her head, I think. She comes off very rude and standoffish at the very beginning. She's kind of an unlikable character at the beginning. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't like her. I just kind of wanted to shake her and be like, Britt Marie, get a grip. But she does get better throughout the book, and the community of Borg really teaches her a lot, and she really comes into her own at the end of the book, and she learns a lot about herself, and it's just really cute. It's full of quirky, fun characters, like kind of a found family feel where like they all just grow closer together and get connected and learn about each other and learn from each other. It's really, really sweet. Again, the ending is devastating, okay? I was very upset. It's one of those endings where it's not necessarily like a bad ending or a super happy ending. It's just very bittersweet. I think it's a good ending, but it made me upset at the same time because I think I wanted it to end differently and it just didn't go the way I wanted it to. But I'm kind of being selfish in how I wanted it to end, so that's just me. Now, if we're talking about OCD, which is what this whole video is about, I can kind of see why I saw reviews calling her OCD, because Britt Marie is the kind of character I expect to see on TV or in books or, you know, whatever, referencing OCD. Like I feel like this is what the average person views as OCD, like someone that really likes cleaning, someone that wants things really organized and done a certain way and stuff like that. I do feel like that is how OCD is represented a lot. I wouldn't call her OCD. I personally think what distinguishes her from someone with OCD, and again, I'm not a professional. I'm just someone who has started learning about OCD a lot more, and just from what I know, the distinct difference is that her form of cleaning is a way to feel important. It makes her feel needed. It calms her down. Like when she's unsure what to do in a situation, she cleans. I truly feel like she feels very satisfied from cleaning and keeping things a certain way. Like she's very rigid in those beliefs, but I do feel like it gives her some sort of satisfaction and she is happier doing them. The difference with someone who has OCD is the obsessions that we have cause us anxiety. We are so anxious. The obsessions are just making us more and more and more and more anxious. The reason we do those compulsions is because they lower our anxiety. So they give us some relief, and our bodies and our minds start learning that. And so whenever those obsessions and that anxiety starts coming up, the compulsions come right after it because we learn that that's how we get relief. I personally wouldn't consider her OCD because, again, it's not impairing her life. It's not hurting her in any way. It's not causing her stress. It's something she likes to do. It gives her, I mean, I don't know if I would say joy, but kind of. Cleaning is how she relaxes. And in my case, if I am really, really, really anxious and I'm having obsessions about something and I need to clean something, it's causing me to feel better in the sense that my anxiety is getting relief, but I'm not happy washing my hands 2 times, 4 times, 5 times. That's not joyous to me. I don't like doing it. It's upsetting, it's distressing, it causes me to be upset. So that's where I would draw the distinction with her. I do understand why people would assume it's OCD because I do think this is what's kind of represented about OCD in like media. It's that orderliness, that cleanliness, that wanting everything pristine and, you know, an organized closet, knowing where everything is, organizing things in a certain manner, right? Like I just feel like that's the that's what people expect or think of when they see someone that has OCD. But in my opinion, I don't think she has it. I do think she's very obsessed with cleaning, but again, I think it brings her joy and she likes it. And with someone with OCD, those compulsions to clean wouldn't make us happy. They would make us distressed, but they do lower our anxiety, so we continue to do them. I did really like this though. I thought it was really fun. You know, I was laughing a lot. It was silly, it was goofy until it wasn't, but I did enjoy this, so I'm probably gonna give it 4 stars. And the last book that I will be reading in this vlog, which is another book that I do not believe it says on the back or in the plot that this has OCD Rep in it, but I did see a lot of people mention it in reviews, so that's why I'm checking it out in this video, and that is Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. Now this is a romantasy. It's very thick. This is going to be the longest book we read in this vlog, so hopefully I can read it kind of quick. But this is like a competition to your death kind of thing, and you're granted a single wish if you win. So I'm gonna start this one and then I will check back in maybe halfway through, maybe when I finished it. We'll see how it goes, but yeah, this is the last book, so I will see you in a bit. Alright friends, I finished Phantasma, and I'm gonna be so honest that I'm so glad this is the last book, and I'm so glad I'm done with this vlog. While I am so happy that I decided to do this, and it's been really interesting reading books with OCD Rep in them and, you know, talking about my experiences and opinions and stuff like that. Not during a serious moment, Letty's squeaking a toy. You know, it's been good for me, but I do think that reading 5 books back to back was a little much because I'm having like OCD dreams, so I definitely think my brain is like, whoa, it's OCD overload. So I'm kind of glad this is the last one and I can move on to something else. Because yeah, I think this was like a lot to do in one go, but we're here now, we finished. That's all that matters. So let me tell you about this book. This is a romantasy book. This is about the main character Ophelia, and her sister Genevieve have just recently found their mother dead, and they are necromancers. So Ophelia is now the head of the family. So now Ophelia is taking on the role of head necromancer, and she like unleashes her powers, and her and Genevieve find out that they are in debt. Her mom was like taking out this loan and it needs to be paid off or they're going to lose their home. Genevieve decides to enter this competition, Phantasma, and this is like a life or death competition. People are gonna die, but the last one standing gets their one wish granted. So Genevieve decides to enter, and when Ophelia finds out, she starts panicking, and because she's the older sister, she decides to enter Phantasma to find her sister, to basically stop her from dying and, you know, bring her home safely. And when she enters Phantasma, she meets this handsome stranger who offers her this deal to help her if she helps him. So that's pretty much the bare bones of this story. Now, there is a lot to it because there is 490 some pages. This book is very long. I feel like it's almost a little too long in my opinion. I don't think it needed to be that long, but it really reminded me of The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent, which I didn't really like, honestly. That one really bored me most of the time, and I didn't like the main character. I do feel like this one is a step above that in my opinion because the main character isn't as annoying. There were times that Ophelia really bothered me in like her actions. She frustrated me a lot, but I think that's just because she's a typical main character. So I mean, she just doesn't do things that like I want her to do, so she bugs me. I think the competition itself was a little underwhelming, I guess. And I don't know if it's because I knew Ophelia was probably gonna make it out alive and she was gonna be fine the whole time. So I didn't feel like there were any stakes to this competition. Like, it's supposed to be a life or death battle. Like, people are gonna die. Like, she could have lost her life and I should be like worried about her, but I was just, okay, she's gonna be fine. I know she's gonna find her sister, like, whatever. So I think because I didn't feel like the stakes were high, I felt like Phantasma as a whole was just kind of boring, the competition itself. I do think that it was based on the circles of hell. That was cool. So each level was a circle of hell. That was cool. I thought that was interesting and unique. The competition challenges were fine. I didn't think they were like mind-blowing, but they were interesting enough, I guess. I liked the romance. I thought Blackwell was really, really fun. He was like my favorite character and I enjoyed him. I feel like the book itself was very predictable in the route it went and the twists that were revealed. I saw them coming. I didn't think anything in this book really shocked me or, you know, had me going, oh my god. So that was a little frustrating, but I did like their romance. The sex scenes were a little cringy at times. I don't know why, but like some of them I was just like, okay, that was, okay. I feel like the book itself is a 3.5. I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to, but I also enjoyed it less than I thought I was going to. Now, for the OCD Rep, which is really why I read this book. So Ophelia has these intrusive thoughts that tell her, like, everyone you love is gonna die if you don't knock on the wall 3 times, or if you don't knock on the table 3 times, or whatever. So she's very, her compulsive behaviors really lie in 3s. It's a number that she has to do a lot of things in. I did like the rep. I thought it was very good. I feel like it wasn't as fleshed out as I was hoping, and I don't know if that's because the previous books I was reading were very in your face, and the OCD Rep is more of a minor participant in this book. That's not the main point of this book. So I don't know if that's why I was expecting it to be more in my face because all the other books were in my face. But I did like the OCD Rep. I personally couldn't really connect to it because it doesn't mirror my obsessions and compulsions to a T, but I definitely think a lot of people will read this and they'll get something from it. They'll feel very seen, and I think it'll probably feel good to have their obsessions and compulsions mirrored in this book. This one didn't really mirror mine, but I read previous books in this vlog that did, so it's not that I necessarily wanted this book to. I just think it was harder for me to connect to Ophelia because we didn't have similar obsessions and compulsions. But I could relate to her feelings on how she felt about her OCD, I guess. And I do think it was a very interesting choice that how they made her intrusive thoughts kind of personified in her head. That's not really something that I think about a lot in my own brain day to day with OCD. So it was a very interesting choice. I thought that was kind of unique, and I think it fit in with the story. But overall, this one was pretty good. I think I'm gonna settle on a 3.5. I don't know if I want to read the next book. I've heard a lot of people liked it more than this one, Enchantra, so let me know if I should read Enchantra because I didn't absolutely love this one. So let me know if I should continue, okay, because I need to know. This is the end of the vlog. Thank you all so much for watching. If you watched the whole thing, if you only watched a little bit, thank you as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was interesting or eye-opening or relatable in some way. If you liked this video and you want to see me do more OCD related vlogs, I would definitely be open to it. So leave me a comment, give me a like, subscribe to my channel, and yeah, that's it. So I hope you all are having a great day, night, morning, afternoon, wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.